Hey guys, just with the announcement of Jill Vandervoort actually being cast in Saw Legacy that dropped yesterday, I just wanted to kind of take a little bit of your time to kind of talk about 5 theories of what or who she could be playing in this upcoming film. Now, some of these are really out there. Honestly, there's really just nothing to go on at this point besides just like pure speculation and taking things that have already occurred in all the other 7 films. Whether or not these are she's connected to those or anything is beyond knowing at this point. We just have no idea. But with that being said, I'm going to get into these theories, some of which that I've come up with and some of which I've heard from you guys who've commented on my videos, and I just absolutely love them. So let's just get into it. First off, one of the best things that we could probably say, and probably the most likely at this point, is that she is actually one of the main protagonists or even a dual protagonist doing in a multi-person game that we've seen throughout the entire series. Personally, I do like this idea considering they also kind of dropped the fact that Hannah Anderson is also cast in the movie at the exact same time. So it makes me wonder whether these two are tangibly connected in the movie. And with multiple person traps and probably being a bigger movie than some of the older ones, I can imagine that they're going to start doing multiple person traps again. And this would be actually really interesting because it would be something that we've never seen a female be the main center focus of any game. The closest we've ever gotten is Lynn Dinlin in Saw 3, but considering that Jeff was already the main person in Saw 3 and that was just her husband, I feel like that was a little bit too removed from the situation. If we can get 2 females being the main protagonists going through the traps and everything, that would be really cool. Kind of a progressive step for the entire series, and hopefully if they do more of these movies, if not just only Saw Legacy, fingers crossed, we can actually see them put more focus on female characters. Obviously, I think most of the female characters in these movies are most of the most interesting. You have people like Amanda Young and Jill Tuck and everyone like that. But going off of that, just speaking of Jill Tuck, let's get to the 4th one. Personally, I feel like considering it's called Saw Legacy and there have been reports that actually Tobin Bell is going to be reprising his role to some degree, it'd be really interesting to see them kind of go backwards and show even more of Jill Tuck and John Kramer's past and how they got together. So she could be playing, even if it's just kind of sparse, not in there very much. What if she's playing a younger version of Jill Tuck? And really nothing really to go on that. It's just kind of an interesting thought I had, considering the fact that I'm not necessarily sure whether or who exactly they're going to be bringing back in this movie. So we're replacing people, going even further back in time for certain flashbacks is not like something that we haven't seen before in all of the Saw franchise. So going back and focusing on characters who are dead, like John Kramer's character or Jill Tuck's character, would be really interesting. Plus it would make sense because they don't necessarily have to bring back the people from the original films, and we can also start to kind of, while telling a new story, it is still tangibly connected between one thing and another, and we can have stories based around these people when they're younger. Maybe it is a prequel, maybe it's not in certain ways. Saw's always been kind of iffy with its timeline and its flashbacks and all this other stuff, so we're gonna just have to wait and see. The very next one is something I thought was really, really cool. What if she is playing a grown-up Diana Gordon? Obviously, Diana Gordon was the child of Allison Gordon and Dr. Lawrence Gordon from the original film. We didn't necessarily see too much of her, but it has been a number of years since then. They could play off that the movie started taking place like months and weeks after each other instead of years and years and years. So I feel like the main continuity ended at 2006, and if you look at it in all the months that kept going, it was like up to 2007. But you never really know. I feel like personally that would be kind of a cool thing just to see, is like this film takes place in present day or maybe even a little bit in the future, kind of an undetermined amount of time has passed, and they actually kind of come in and they show that this is a grown-up Diana Gordon actually living with the fact that she was a part of this. And it actually kind of brings it up as like the Saw Legacy. These are kind of people who've been adversely affected by one of these things one way or the other. And that actually gets me into my 4th point is, what if she actually is someone that has actually been in a trap before? The 7th film actually focused a whole lot on people who were not necessarily seen throughout the franchise, but were, quote unquote, like hand gestures, like hand quotation fingers, like were in traps, and they kind of started retconning and making the universe even bigger. So maybe they can continue that trend, and maybe, she has kind of been adversely affected by this, or it's something to bring up, like the legacy of this. This would totally work with Diana Gordon just as much as it would work as a completely new character, but I think me and a lot of fans going back to the Diana Gordon thing would be really, really surprised and impressed with that, considering that she is kind of an established character and you could just recast her and just, actually jump off of that and kind of create some kind of connection with the previous films while also kind of trying to tell a new story. And very lastly, really quickly, I feel like maybe you can have her be someone like the new Apprentice. We don't necessarily know anything about the story going forward in this, but we do know that speculatively John Cora is coming back to play Ryan, and he has some kind of a scene with Topin Bell. It's been speculated of, so maybe she has something to do with it. Maybe she's involved with him somehow. Maybe she has some kind of an apprenticeship with John Kramer in the past, or there's just so many possibilities at this point that I think a lot of people are just going to have to wait and see. On the whole Diana Gordon thing as well, like you have the daughter of Jeff and Lynn, who a lot of people wanted to know exactly what happened to her. And I remember a lot of people being really mad about her and not really getting much of an explanation. And considering bringing her back over Diana Gordon, actually just, it's like, personally, we got that scene in Saw 6, that little stinger that they put on the home video release only, not in the theatrical cut, where we actually got to see how Shawnee Smith's character, Amanda Young, so remiss about the letter that Hoffman wrote her. She actually went to Jeff and Lynn's daughter and told her not to trust the one that saves you. And then that kind of led us into the events of Saw 5 and Saw 6 and Saw 3D. So talking about legacy, talking about how all this stuff kind of interconnects, bringing a character like that back into the mix and kind of helping to explain that would actually be an interesting way of taking the whole franchise and getting a little bit past where we were, but also kind of remaining kind of consistent in that sense where we can move on from what happened, but we can also really kind of explain some of the things and retcon some things to actually make things make more sense and kind of connect the story while also being able to move forward and do more sequels and stuff in its own natural story. So personally, that's something that would be really cool to me. Honestly, if she's playing any kind of established character, I'd really love to see that. I'd really love to see how they kind of decide how to play that and everything. So guys, tell me what y'all think about this in the comment section below. I've heard really good theories. I'm sure there's way better ones out there that I haven't even remotely thought of. Like I said, a lot of these that I came up with today were ones that were given to me by y'all. So definitely keep bringing these theories to me, guys. I really like them. Anyway, guys, I'll check y'all in the next Saw video.